In this video, we'll be talking about generators and if your client or future client is a generator, how to best serve them, how to sell to them, all the things. Yay! Okay, if you are a generator, that's where we're starting. Know that you are here to build. You're here to generate. Like how that works? You are here to create. And before you get too excited, know that this is probably the number one lesson that I have to remind generators. You're not here to do things perfectly the first time. It's supposed to be a process. I think of it as a staircase. And it's like, I don't have anything besides my hands to do a staircase with, but you do a little bit, okay? And then there's a pause. You sit on that plateau in between the steps and you integrate what you need to improve next. And then you go up a stair, not one more step, and you do more work. And this isn't literally everything you do, but there needs to be that pause. And if you are not used to that pause, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. It may feel like things are not working or like you need to shift and you need to do something else. In most cases, sit with it first before you decide to change direction or change your plans. Sit with it, make sure that you've integrated. And while I'm not a generator, I am a manager. I can give you an example. So the first time I ran spellbinding sales, it was under a month. It was, I think, technically like 13 days of lessons and then a couple Q&A days. It was very quick. It was really terrible graphics looking back. It was in my first office, which did not even have a door, so things were noisy. It was only through Facebook Lives. But it's okay because it was the first run. I made it very clear it was the first run and it would not be perfect, but it was at a lower price because of it. The second time I ran it, it was 6 months. And I loved it, but then realized people needed more time to go through the lessons. So I either needed to cut out half the lessons and make that a separate product or offer, or I needed to make it longer. Now spellbinding sales is longer because of it. And we can go through the fine tuning of what else can we do to improve it? What else can we do to make people, make it easier for people to complete it? You know, what else can we build in? At some point, I'll get to the top of the staircase, but it's not supposed to be done right perfectly. You don't have to wait for that. That is where you slow yourself down. And again, that's with everything. So you want built-in integration time in your launches, in your marketing, really everything, so that you don't create longer plateaus, more plateaus. Something that I was telling somebody recently is like, you know, she's a generator and she was doing lots of things. And it's like, I just want you to focus on one or two things because otherwise your body can't integrate what you're doing. So you build up all this energy and you create what should be a lot of results, but then it immediately gets pushed back out into something else rather than your body being able to integrate it and use it to expand and to create growth. And I am guessing that a lot of generators can reflect on that and recognize themselves in some of that process. The other thing that I like to tell generators a lot is to slow down. Slow down with your marketing, with your launches, with your creation. Give yourself more time. I know when you get excited, you want to run with it immediately. It's okay. You have the response. That's cool. Trust your responses. But if you have that idea and it's an aha, make sure it's an aha. It doesn't mean go launch it by the end of the week. It means give yourself time to prepare everything. Give people time to respond to it. Give people time to come in. I usually try to tell when you're first getting started, double the amount of time you would normally give yourself to do it. So if you normally would launch 2 weeks after you have an idea, give yourself 3 or 4. Or if your launches are usually 3 days, give yourself 12 days. I personally like to 4 weeks for launches, and I'm a manager. But you can find your own sweet spot there. There are, I have my reasons. You may have your reasons for doing it a different time. I've mentioned responses. If you get nothing else out of this, everything a generator does needs to be a response. You get the response and then you notice, what signs are you being given? What signs is the universe showing you? And then once you respond, it's like a little click and everything is turned on, your energy is turned on, it connects, and you move forward. And if you've ever had that thing where it's like you've been really excited about something and you create it and crickets or things just don't go right, like you get slowed down or just like weird things stop happening, check with, okay, yeah, you had the idea and you were excited, but was there a response connected to it? Because even as a manager, I find like, oh no, those are the times when I needed to sit on that idea despite my excitement and wait for an actual response before moving forward, and then things would have been so much smoother. And sometimes if you relaunch things, once you realize that, you can even see the difference. It might be at a different time in your life, but that's still fine. Which also poses the question of like, where are you getting stuck? Is it because there's not a response? Is it because you're pushing when you're supposed to back off? Is it because you weren't giving yourself time to integrate and you're really at a plateau? Things to check with. Generators like to do a lot. That is okay. But also know that you need to give yourself space. So, question, are you doing too much? And that is with life, with your business. If a launch isn't going the way you want, are you doing too much? Can you simplify? Can you scale back? If you peel back all of the layers, what is actually creating connection with your audience? What is actually, creating progress? What's creating that forward momentum? What can be bettered or fine-tuned to be more effective for you? And that can be the piece that you focus on instead of, say you're launching and you have 5 different ideas of things you want to do. What if we did? And I know it's hard because, again, Fanny Gen, but I still have this problem. In fact, one of my upcoming launches, I just recently had to pull back one of the elements, and it's like, if we have time to get to it, we get to it. And there was already 1 or 2 things in that pile. So we're focusing on the one main launch element, and the other pieces are over here because the one main thing is something that can be bettered and fine-tuned to be more effective. It has created progress before. It has created connection. We know it works. It's just shifting some of what has been done around it. There's lots of opportunities for you to do that in your own marketing, in your own sales. And instead of doing something new, that would be the place that I would always start. What's worked before? How can you make it better? With that, there's also like the side element of what are all of the things that you feel like you need to do? And let's eliminate those. Instead, eliminate those, experiment with waiting, sitting with the discomfort, and then coming back and fine-tuning what you actually are supposed to work on and what actually does work for you. You're not going to do well when you're doing all the things you think you need to be doing because there is no response. It's just using energy to make yourself feel like you are productive, which isn't serving anybody. That can also be where you plateau. And when you're plateauing, that can make receiving at a new level a little tricky. Check your alignment. Again, like stick with the project. This would be a really great time to go back and do the quantum work from the very first day of intro work on your energetic minimum, because that can be just we need to shift our relationship with how we're receiving and how much we are able to receive. We also need to make sure that we have space and our schedule and our energy to receive. So I can give an example of this. A generator can hone down by knowing themselves, knowing their mission, knowing who they serve. And instead of, oh, this isn't working, well, let me change my title. Because if I change my title, people will understand what I do better. Or let me change my audience because I think a different audience will connect with me more. Or let me create a brand new offer. Instead of doing all of that, as soon as you feel like you're not succeeding, sit with the discomfort for a little bit. Is it just that you're moving really quickly and people can't catch up? Is it that you need to give them time to get on board with who you are, what you are doing? Have you given yourself time to master your art? Are you still integrating? What lessons can you learn from this? How can you master what you are responding to? What's the lesson in the response? And instead, I would use this time as let's look at what we've learned. Let's integrate some lessons. And it's okay if you have resistance to that, but it is a necessary part. What do you need to do to prepare for the next thing? Do you need more support? Do you need to fine tune something? Also, this is the time to check all of your alignment with your ahas and ahs. And usually if you run through this process, you'll figure out, oh, either this little piece wasn't aligned, I need to shift that. Or you needed to sit with the discomfort. You needed to move through the plateau. You needed to integrate. And then things will start moving again. But you do have to allow the plateaus to be what they are here for. A lot of people get frustrated by them, but they're not bad things. It's just our culture teaches us to go, go, go when we need to let the energy return to us, let it settle, let it fill us, and then move forward. Know that, again, like with making money, it's a lot of paying attention to signs from the universe, responding, then doing what feels good. I know it sounds simple, but like it kind of is. Business-wise, programs are usually what I suggest, programs and offers that you can repeat and tweak. Not to say you can't have other things, and not to say like these all have to be long, but I really like for generators and mini gens for them to have a couple signature pieces. You don't have to do these immediately, but to start tweaking whatever you have and creating a signature system and a signature program and working with them. You may have fewer ways that you're expressing your legacy message. It doesn't mean you can't create other things that kind of like coincide or work with it. It just means that there may be a few set pieces that you kind of hone the most or that you're known for the most. And you may be weaving pieces of what you do together. On the plus side, generators and mini gens, you can have like really any length of program. I would probably say you feel more comfortable with longer programs, which isn't to say like you could do like a 6-week one-to-one, but I wouldn't structure your entire business to be like 6-week programs unless they were self-study or even if you're doing pieces of them live, I feel like it would be too exhausting to keep launching that many times. I would probably suggest 3 months and 6 months to be the top options. You can play with that if you want. And chances are you already have a process, even if you're like, Kristen, I don't have a signature program. I don't have a signature offer. I am brand new. Or you're like, I've been doing this and I still don't have one. I can assure you that you have some sort of process that you use. And before you're ready to get to that point, it's okay. You can just fine tune it. You could make it a short offer. Again, spellbinding sales started as less than 30 days. So you can make it a short offer and then expand on it when it feels right. But just knowing like, oh, this is a pattern. I'm helping people in this way consistently. So there is something here for me to keep, bettering. There is somewhere on the staircase that I may not be seeing, but I'm going somewhere with it. And that's okay. I will also say with your structure, you do need built-in off time. You don't want to be on all the time because you need time to yourself, time to regenerate, time to kind of process your plateaus privately. If your structure includes you being present all the time and that's what you build your clients to expect, you're going to burn yourself out. So I like the 1 week on, 1 week off. That's my personal favorite. I also like at this point having things that are the main element of the program being pre-recorded and then only showing up live and, stopping in for comments, it gives me much more freedom. You might find a different process that works for you. But those are my suggestions. Okay, so that is all for if you are a generator. Now let's talk about if your client or your future client is a generator. Yay. So the biggest thing, and this is going to go for if they're a client, if they're a future client, you can't let them rush the process. Generators who are not in alignment will try to rush the process. Generators who are excited may try to rush the process. It is okay, but don't let them do it. Your job is to lead them in an aligned manner. So future client, that could be, that could be making sure you lead them through the sales conversation in the way that you want them to go, as opposed to them leading you, which is what we should always be leading the people anyway, because if they are leading us, the respect and the boundaries that we need in a sales conversation for alignment are not there anyway, and it can cause problems in their relationship and the mentorship moving forward. It's part of facilitation. But we need to make sure that they are giving us time to understand where they are, what needs to shift, and how we connect to them before sliding forward into, okay, what do you actually need? What is going to be right for you? Depending where they are, you may need to slow them down so that you can understand, are you at a plateau? Are you just trying to forge ahead so quickly that you feel like nothing is working because you're trying to push ahead like a bulldozer? All things to depend on. Generators have their own timing. I have some generators that have even cyclic timing of, I have one who it's easiest for her to sell 2 weeks out of the month, and the other 2 weeks need to be more internal. And no, she does not have a defined emotional center. Sorry, baby brain. But it's just how she is. I have another one who very particular months of the year, we don't sell because we have like the launch, and then we have the periods of, regardless of whether she's launching or not, and she needs to come process. And it's great that she has that built in with her system. Like her body is just trained to, these months we come inside and we process. However, when we first met, she was always trying to push ahead in those months and wondering why it wouldn't work, when it was we just had to look at this, the cycle and realize, okay, these are the months where you have more energy. Let's use those. Let's make sure we build the year around those. And that's when we're going to launch. That's when we're going to fill our programs. The other times can be more automated. And so we either build programs that make sure we're making money during those times, or that they're automated and you can be completely off and rest and rejuvenate and still honor that cycle. In the sales process and in the mentorship process, generators need lots of questions. Give them questions. They will enjoy it. But also make sure that you're giving them space around the questions. Facilitation tip: people sometimes need silence. Don't try to fill the silence immediately. If you've answered a question, they need time to check in with their sacral. They may have an immediate answer. They may have an immediate answer and still need to process it a little bit. If they're emotionally defined, they may need a couple days before they can really, truly know what their answer is. That's okay. But ask them those questions, which means in marketing, we want to give them something to respond to. I like to do, especially in sales pages, you can ask a lot of questions that they will relate to and say yes right before you ask from the sale. And that gets them in the habit of like, yes, this is me, this is me, this is me. Oh my God, I feel the response. Do I want to join? Yes, I want to join because I'm like so understood. And it's just a nice, they know that they're recognized. They know that you know where they are, and it's going to make them want to come in more naturally because they're feeling the energy and their sacral is feeling the energy, and it helps them understand whether it's aligned for them in a much easier way. You can also use questions, like journal questions are great, but as often as we can, we want them to be yes and no questions, but use these questions to remind them where they are. You can use them in post beforehand. You can do even polls beforehand to really kind of get the have them reflect and think about where are they? Where are they struggling? Where do they really want improvement? And get them reflecting on that so they can see oh, my sacral says I do need to work on this. Well, what's the next step? And then you can keep moving them down that energetic pathway. When you're working with them, you're going to want to really be able to get clear on how they've plateaued and help them see how to move past that. You can even set up offers that are around that on, what does their plateau typically look like? What do they need to shift in order to move past that plateau? So, for example, the client prescription, that is something where it can be, not solely for generators, but it can be you've plateaued at a particular income level. What do you need to get past that? Well, you need different product flow. You need one thing that you're focusing on, one thing that you're putting your energy into, so you're not doing all the things and exhausting yourself. And so that's getting solid and creating results before you go on to something else. And that'll help shift them through the plateau. You can build in periods of waiting time, give them suggestions of timelines, or you can drip the course so that they're integrating. You can give them homework and different activities so that that they are integrating to move them through that plateau a little easier. I love homework for generators because those activities are going to keep them moving forward, and just mix up what type of activity it is so that they don't get bored, and so that it just shifts different amounts of energy and different types of energy. Okay, so that is what to do if your client or your future client or both is a generator, and you can catch the other videos to look at other human design types. Bye!